Yeah, I thought this meant there was going to be some sort of audio that was going to be satisfying, but no, in this case, ASMR stands for Autistic SR-71 Mega Rambling. So, let's talk about the SR-71 Blackbird produced by Lockheed Martin. So initially, it was to replace the U-2. You always have to say plane, because otherwise it thinks you're talking about the band. And during the Cold War, Russian missiles were advancing. So the U-2 was in danger because it could fly high, and it was stealthy, and it was pretty fast. But as Russian missiles and radar got better, it was going to get shot down soon. And let's just say SR-71 was not fast enough. But we don't talk about that. So for many years, technically it was the Archangel project. There was a lot of project names, but the one before the SR-71 was the Archangel. So the A-12, oh, what's that? I don't care about you, you're lame, stupid phone. So the cool A-12 Ox cart, as you can see, looks very similar, but biggest difference, easiest thing to notice, is how there's only one window, not two, because there was no reconnaissance systems officer. There was only one pilot, not two. Technically not two pilots, but one person in the plane, not two. So the A-12, or Archangel 12, aka Ox cart, was a little faster and flew a little higher and was a little smaller, but it had way less of a range and less cool things as the SR-71. And this was initially for the CIA, but then the United States Air Force, or USAF, said, hey, that's cool, can I have that? So they made the SR-71 Blackbird. Now, there was a lot of competition. There's a lot of videos you can watch on it. I have 5 of them. I'll link in the description. But of all the super weird designs, this was the finalized one. It's a spaceship. It uses the stars to navigate. So this one, you can kind of see that little dot right there. That's where a constellation tracker peeks up and looks at the stars to navigate. You may think it'd be that, but no, that is how it refueled. It used fuel so much that even right after takeoff, it would need a mid-air refuel. Part of the reason why it was, stopped being used because it was so expensive and difficult to maintain and difficult to use and expensive to use, and the fuel costs a lot and the fuel was hard to make, etc. So it wasn't the most practical thing, but when you're flying at Mach 3.32, 85,000 feet in the air, and you can photograph everything, you can't really counter that, and that was the entire idea. Now, some idiot decided, so for this large plane made of titanium, due to the heat of flying that fast, let's lift it by a balloon into the air. I don't know why he thought that would work. Even lifting like a small Cessna with a balloon would take a pretty substantial balloon. So he wanted to lift a titanium thing that would weigh multiple tons. Wow, that's 5 stars. Nice. But yeah. So it doesn't do that. In fact, one thing about takeoff, does this picture showcase it? You can't really see it, no. Hold on. So you gotta specify the landing gear. So where is it? No, there we go. This is infused with what I believe is aluminum. Is it aluminum? Hold on. Yeah, I think it's aluminum. And that is due to the heat of taking off very, 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 very fast. So if you just had rubber, that'd kind of like go bye-bye. And it needs to take off fast because it's built for speed, not for lift. Because I can see you do this shape. If you know anything about lift, you know big wings means lift. And a certain, let me show you the wing shape. It is a teardrop. It is optimized for lift. And no, not that, no. There we go, wings. So this is the main wing design. It's basically when like air goes over it and pushes down on it, which pushes the plane up, and it goes under, and there's a little bit of lift through that and stuff. So like, air hits that, which pushes it up. That's how planes fly, especially slow ones. But this one, that's not slow. And more drag equals more lift, but more drag equals slower and hotter. So no. So instead of, just having lift, it decides to punch the ramjets to extremely fast speeds, hence the landing gear, and go whee right off the runway. And it actually is a 6-degree angle, 6 to 7 degrees, that it flies. So it's slightly angled upwards. I don't know if I search angle, if that'll show it off. I think I'll just specify angle of attack. That is what it's called. There we go. So you can see the engines are slightly tilted downwards because during flight, these level off, they point flat, and the cockpit is pointed a little bit upwards. That's so it can actually have lift. It needs to angle itself upwards to get lift. It's like if you take your hand, if this were in the air, it would do nothing, so you have to do that in order to get a little bit of lift. That's what it does, which is why the takeoff is so fast, which costs so much fuel. And due to the way the ramjets work, the faster they fly, which means the more air they get, the faster they go. And it's even more economic to fly faster. So if you were flying infinitely fast, you would be saving a lot of fuel than if you were trying to take off. So you basically just dump half the entire tank in order to take off, which isn't very convenient. There's actually one picture of it refueling. You can see it does it through that little hatch on the top. That one didn't connect yet. And it has a bunch of different cameras. So if we look up SR-71 cameras, I'm surprisingly good at typing with one hand. So here's a good visualization. So you got like a really wide one for terrain, some certain spots, and then a bunch of these random ones that just kind of go all over the place. It's pretty crazy. Here's the camera system, and this was not digital, keep in mind. They actually had to bring this back and take out the film. Yeah, it was pretty insane. And there was actually a model of the Blackbird. There's a lot of different models, like a training model and some other experimental ones. You can see the YF-12. I don't recall what exactly this one was unique in doing, but it looks like that, which is kind of goofy. But there was one model that was just, that's not, oh, okay, that is. I thought that was A12 Foxcart. But there was one model designed to hold bombs. Pretty much like right here along the sides, it would hold 4 bombs, which would have been crazy. But it didn't do that. And there's a little bit of reference of scale. So you can see guy, plane big, very big. It was developed by Skunk Works division of Lockheed Martin. Oh, there you can see a comparison between the SR-71 and the A-12. There you can see the difference between the size. That's a lot wider. That's a lot thinner. So you can actually look up SR-71 versus A-12. That is not the A-12. If you don't want to click on that. If you learned anything from our very recent search, you will know that is the YF-12, not the A-12. There we go. So you can see it's much slimmer and smaller, and you can see the stats comparisons of its size and range and speed and altitude. So it flew a little bit higher and faster, but it was smaller. Again, that is not. I don't know why they're saying that's the A-12. That is the YF. They're stupid. There we go. See, YF-12A, SR-71A, A-12, M21. This one, I think this was the one either to test. Oh yeah, it was a drone. Wow, what was it called? I'll just look up M12. That's probably not going to show up. Yeah, I thought so. There's so many things called the M12 plane. So, okay, fine. M12 a jet. No, that's not it. I don't know if they called it something wrong. I actually tried looking for it once, but there's this little hold up. I better just look up ramjet drone because that's what it is. There we go. So the ramjet you see, they basically just put wings on that and made it a drone. I believe the one I was showing the top right there, that was to deploy it, either that or to test it. I can't recall which. D-21 drone. That's it. I don't even know what that is. So yeah, ramjets are really complicated, but they are really cool. Overall, the plane has a ton of insane features. It broke so many records. As I mentioned in my recent short on it, X-15 is technically faster, except for the fact that it can't take off on its own. It has to be deployed by a plane. It only has like 10 minutes of thrust. It's not a plane. It's a rocket. It's a rocket with a person in there to control it. It is all it is. Or sorry, a missile, because it's actually guided. But come on. That's a plane. That's a missile with a man inside of it. And sure, cool, fast by NASA to test some things. But if you really like if you're going for your pure record, and you're saying, what is the most impressive top speed aircraft we created? Yes. But again, we just took a missile and put a guy inside. I mean, like, if you look at the fastest land vehicle. See, if you learn how to type, like I type using my fingers however I want. I don't do the home row thing. So typing with one hand's a lot faster. I mean, look at that. Jet, missile, person inside. Now, yes, it's not literally just a missile, but I mean, and you will notice a black twin jet engined thing with a pointy end. Does that remind you of anything? Anything in particular? No? Okay. Didn't remind me of anything either. It looks like nothing I've ever seen. Oh, that's the electric one. Electric speed vehicles these days are goofy as hell. But back to the SR-71. Now, if you look up SR-70, you won't find anything. But it was named the SR-71 because it followed... Oh, splinter cycles? Okay, well, that's the SR-72 Dark Star. No, it's not. What is that? That's something else. So the SR-70 was another thing, and basically it was, I think, canceled, and the SR-71, they just named it that because, like, hey, we already have that. So we'll call it the 71 instead of the 70, haha. SR-72 Dark Star, it was actually teased to be a real plane. Turns out that was a prank. It is not a real thing. It was a thing shown on Top Gun Maverick. And it's called SR because there's two supposed reasons. The most reliable one we know about is that instead of calling it the Reconnaissance Strike 71, he accidentally called it the SR-71, not the RS. And instead of changing everything to say, or like correcting that and, you know, going in the news and saying, no, it was RS, they just roll with it. There could have been other reasons, but yeah, so it's Strike Reconnaissance, not Reconnaissance Strike, which is cool, I guess. And the Dark Star, yeah, it's just kind of a thing, but it's not real, so that's kind of good. What is that? Yeah, I mean, okay, I don't know what that is. That's not a, that's the F-111, I think. F-111, I can't remember, F-117 or F-111, hold up, F-111, I think it's the F-111 Aardvark. Dang it, no, that's that thing. It's the F-117 Nighthawk. It's so easy to get those things mixed up. I watched a video from, I believe, Real Engineering on it. And this thing, this little vent here, they actually have a little wiper to clean off frost on it. Really cool. That was the thumbnail of the video, that's why I was intrigued. I mean, I like Real Engineering in the first place. He actually has a video on the SR-71. Nighthawk is cool too. You'll notice a similar design. In fact, a lot of similar designs were shared. But I definitely recommend watching the almost 3 hours of videos, I don't care about the notification, shut up, on the SR-71 that I have in the description. So, that was my ASMR, Autistic SR-71 Mega Ramble. Haha, bye.